Chapter 7. Young Master An. A sea area in the North Sea. A flying boat was parked high up in the sky, and below, dark clouds and thunder flashed, vaguely. One could see a monstrous battle rising in the sea. 50 long dragons encircled the waters and swam in the sea. The dragon meets the sea. The sky turns upside down. The sea water in all directions seems to be at the beck and call of these 50 long dragons. Groups of dragons cruising, but will be hundreds of Zhuanwu surrounded in the center. Zhuanwu have big and small. Small only 1 zhong of big. Big 300 zhong of huge, at the moment, is panicked in the face of the long dragons. The long dragons were each 500 zhong long, and the longest one was 800 zhong long. Although there were only 50 long dragons, but they overwhelmingly trapped the Zhuanwu in the center. Ong, steeply, a black dragon rushed out. "Protect the young son. I'll do it." A 300-foot Zhuanwu brazenly charged out. Boom! The Zhuanwu collided with the black dragon, and the two parties were instantly knocked back, only to see another black dragon take advantage of the gap and bite a 10 zhong-sized Zhuanwu. "No, my son. Let go of my son. Koching. Gulong." Amidst the other Zhuanwu's cries of alarm, that little Zhuanwu was instantly crushed and devoured in one bite. The black dragon's eyes glared with a cold light, as if he disliked the fact that it wasn't enough to stuff his teeth with, and continued to stare coldly at the crowd of Zhuanwu. "Surround them. Don't give them a chance to take advantage of this," the largest Zhuanwu anxiously roared. However, the scene was like an eagle catching a chicken. The strongest Zhuanwu might not be a match for the long dragon. So where could they protect them? For a while, more and more Zhuanwu were devoured. Zhuanwu can invoke the heavenly phase. The dragons can invoke even more, and more powerful in general. Under the tragic scene, blood-stained aside of the sea, high above the flying boat, there was a group of people standing at this moment. At the head of a white-clothed youth, extremely handsome, holding the railing, showing a hint of a light smile as he looked down below. Behind him stood a group of subordinates. One of them, a burly man with a golden sword, seemed to have a bit higher status. "Young Master An, if you brought this group of dragons to graze in the North Sea, does the king know about it? Will he?" The man with the golden blade frowned. "Marquis Fangming, you were only sent by my grandfather to protect me, not to command me," the white-clothed male coldly said. "Yes, my subordinate wouldn't dare. It's just this group of dragons." Fangming Ho, who was carrying a golden sword, was worried. The white-clothed duke, young Master An, looked down with narrowed eyes and said, "It will be fine. Some time ago, there was a rumor that Li Shenji had discovered a Zhuanwu ministry group here, and today he rushed here. And it is true. This group of dragons owes allegiance to my royal family, so naturally my royal family can't lose out on them. Don't they want to eat Zhuanwu? This batch of Zhuanwu, let them eat enough." Fangming Ho frowned and eventually nodded without saying anything more. Below, the group of dragons surrounded the Zhuanwu. The scene was extremely bloody. Suddenly, in the distance, another stream of light shot in steeply. Fangming Ho raised his eyebrows and turned his head to look. However, that flying boat flew lower. Flying under the dark clouds, the flying boat flew close. It just so happened that a black dragon below had once again risen up, seemingly about to devour yet another gigantic Zhuanwu. "No, don't eat me." That Zhuanwu let out a miserable cry and was steeped in the black dragon's mouth. "Asshole." Above that flying boat, there was a steep roar and a man flew out, striking towards the black dragon with a palm. Boom! With a loud bang, the black dragon was immediately knocked back violently, and the Zhuanwu that was bitten in its mouth immediately let go and flew out. "Ha, Elder Mu, you're finally back. You're finally back." The Zhuanwu that escaped screamed in surprise. Elder Mu didn't have time to pay any attention at all and rushed into the huge battlefield with a bang. "Assholes, you guys dare!" Elder Mu roared as the sea water around him steeply rushed into the sky. surging up once again. Elder is back, Elder is back. There's help. Elder, help. A crowd of Xuanwu roared in terror. Mukun rushed into them with a roar, continuously striking out and slapping away the crowd of elder dragons. Ang! The group of dragons roared and rushed towards Mukun, with the largest of them, a black dragon, 800 feet long, roaring as it flung a tail with a roar. The tail was flung from the bottom upwards, and as it was flung, the entire sea was separated into halves by a monstrous force in general. Rumble. Explosive water shot out in all directions, and the power was heavenly. Mukun's face changed as he abruptly shifted and transformed into a 500-foot giant turtle. Roar. In a loud roar, the turtle shell and dragon tail collided. Boom. The surrounding sea water instantly exploded into the sky, and the dragon's tail did not help the huge turtle shell. However, this collision caused the Xuanwu and dragons fighting around them to suddenly separate. The group of dragons swam behind this largest black dragon, coldly looking at the giant turtle on the opposite side. A group of Xuanwu hastily fled behind Mukun, angrily glaring at the group of dragons opposite. Above the dark clouds, Suran, that flying boat. It seems like it's the white cloud ship of the One Piece Hall. Is it Long Wanqing? Fang Mingho frowned. Du Kun's eyes narrowed slightly. Long Wanqing. How did she get involved with the Xuanwu clan's Mao Chen? Beneath the dark clouds, the white cloud flying boat. Long Wanqing, Master Lion Yun, Gu Hai, and Shangwen Scar were staring together at the two great clans fighting across the street. Rounding up. Ha ha ha. This group of dragons. They are here to round up the Xuanwu clan. A cold light flashed in Shangwen Trace's eyes. The dragon race is fond of eating Xuanwu, Gu Hai said with a slight frown. Your Majesty, this Xuanwu clan and the dragon clan are both water beasts. Xuanwu is a great tonic. That's why the dragon clan came to devour it. But unfortunately, this is not 800 years ago. 800 years ago, the Xuanwu clan also ate dragons. The Xuanwu clan has declined, and now it's being devoured by the dragons all over the place instead. Shangwen Trace said with a wild jump in his eyelids. Xuanwu still eats dragons. Gu Hai revealed a hint of doubt. Xuanwu is not a picky eater. It eats dragons and phoenixes too. Unfortunately, nowadays it's just being eaten, Shangwen Trace said calmly, but Gu Hai could hear a monstrous anger contained in Shangwen Trace's tone. No, Whole Master. This group of dragons are sinful dragons. Master Liu Nian's eyes narrowed and said. Sin dragons. Long Wanqing was slightly stunned. What sin dragons? Gu Hai was puzzled. Sin dragons. They are the dragons amongst the dragon race who have committed great sins. They were ostracized by the group of dragons and branded with a sin mark on their heads. They should have been executed, but in view of the fact that they are of the same dragon race, the death penalty can be waived. But the living penalty is hard to be forgiven. They will be sent to my Dojin dynasty as slaves, and they will be free only after 1,000 years. The dragon race is the national beast of my Dojin dynasty. Even if they are sinful dragons, my Dojin dynasty won't go too far, and they will be generally sent to the frontier to guard the border with the frontier officials and soldiers to defend the border from the foreign enemies only, Long Wanqing explained. Gu Hai looked along with what Long Wanqing pointed out, and sure enough, above the dragon's head of each dragon, there was a meter-shaped scar in general, which was exceptionally hideous. These years, the border of Yingju had the most turmoil, so most of the Sin dragons were sent out to Yingju for King Luoyang to deploy. The Sin dragons can only wear their sins in the Great Jin dynasty. They are assigned a place. They are not allowed to leave. How did they appear in the North Sea? Long Wanqing was surprised. Boom. Mukun and the largest black dragon fought and rose up. A powerful battle that immediately set off a monstrous storm. Gu Hai, however, turned his head and looked around at this moment. Your Majesty, above, There is a flying boat above, Shangwen Scar shouted at once. Dark clouds covered the sky. Gu Hai could not see the sky above, but Shangwen Scar's eyesight was able to see through the dark clouds. Fly upwards, Long Wanqing called out. Shoo! The flying boat quickly flew high into the sky, crossing the dark cloud area in a flash. The first grandson of King Liu Yong, Luan's flying boat. Master Liu Nian frowned slightly. This Luan is troublesome, Gu Hai said doubtfully. Very troublesome, King Liu Yang's favorite grandson, and his abilities are extraordinary. Master Liu Nian frowned. Oh, Gu Hai frowned slightly. The white cloud flying boat quickly arrived in front of the opposite flying boat. Young Master An held onto the railing and looked at Long Wanqing across the street. So it's Sister Wanqing. Why are you free to come to this North Sea? Young Master An, please call me Long Wanqing. Sister Wanqing is not what you call me. And also, these sinful dragons. Did you bring them out? Long Wanqing glared and shouted. What? Sister Wanqing doesn't like to be called that. How about calling Wanqing then? Young Master An smiled faintly. Young Master An, this group of Zhuanwu are my friends. Please also take this group of sinful dragons away, Long Wanqing said in a deep voice. Oh, your friends. Then I can't do anything about it. This group of sinful dragons doesn't listen to me either. Young Master An laughed. On the side, Master Lionian said in a deep voice, Young Master An, Sin dragons are not allowed to leave the battlefield unless there is a decree from the Holy Lord. This is the rule of our great Jin dynasty. Young Master An taking this group of Sin dragons to leave the battlefield of Yingju and come to the North Sea should belong to disobeying the holy decree, right? I don't know if this is you personally bringing them out, or if King Liu Yong arranged for them to come out. Is it you who disobeyed the holy decree? Or is it King Liu Yong who has already disregarded the holy decree? Young Master An's playful face suddenly turned grim. Ha ha ha, what a great offense. Mr. Lunian, you've become a monk. Are you still so venomous nowadays? Young Master An said in a cold voice. Young Master An, if you don't remove this group of sinful dragons, I will immediately write a letter to my grandpa, letting my grandpa know that King Liu Yang has disrespected the holy decree and has indulged the sinful dragons, wreaking havoc on the North Sea. Long Wanqing shouted with a glare. Young Master An stared at Long Wanqing, revealing a cold smile and said, Sister Wanqing, I found out that it's still you who were cuter when you were a child, and now you're becoming more and more unappealing. Long Wanqing stared at Young Master An, her gaze icy cold, not letting go at all. Young Master An coldly made a round of everyone on the white cloud flying boat. On the occasion of seeing Gu Hai, he was slightly puzzled, but did not take it seriously. Ghostface, it's time to go back, Young Master An said coldly. Boom! There was a steep roar from below, and the battle came to a halt. The Sin Dragon, who was fighting Mu Chen, looked up at the flying boat high in the sky. What, Young Master An, leaving now? When I finish off Mu Chen, these Zhuanwu, they're all ours, that black dragon said in shock. Leaving? If we don't leave, someone is going to slander my grandfather as a rebel. Humph. Young Master An stared at Long Wanqing and said in a cold voice. Yes, Black Dragon Ghostface answered. Go. Ang. The group of dragons immediately flew up into the sky and soared high into the air. Rumble. Suddenly, the group of dragons abruptly transformed into human form. They landed on top of Young Master An's flying boat. Young Master An twisted his head and looked at Long Wanqing. Sister Wanqing, come to my Yingju when you have time. I will definitely treat you well. Ha 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 ha. Young Master An grimaced and laughed. After saying that, the flying boat shot off into the distance and flew into the sky in a twinkling of an eye.